Recording. Hello everyone. Am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Welcome. Audience, can you please turn off your camera? Kratika Tahilyani, can you please turn off your camera? Hi, good afternoon, sir. Sandeep, sir.
Hello. Hi, Siddharth.
Good afternoon,
How are
sir.
you? Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, in fact. Hi. Uh,
Good evening, ma'am.
so we are
Snehal,
waiting.
ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think we can wait for 10 minutes. 5:10 till 5:10 to everybody join.
Okay. Yeah. I'm here.
Hi. Hi, Samir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Snehal. Good
Hey,
evening.
Samir.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, Siddharth.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello.
So we are waiting for Poonam, I guess.
I'm
Yes,
going to
yes,
cut.
sir.
Should I? We'll wait.
Sir, I think we can wait for 5:10 till 5:10 so that everybody can join and Poonam also.
5 or 10? 5 or 10?
Snehal, it's design, so let there be some ambiguity.
हाँ,
So
क्या
we
बोलता
start.
है? This 5 or 10 is like a doubling up of the thing.
I understand. Okay. So it's 5-3 now.
How are you?
Siddharth, 5 more minutes is fine.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
We will switch off.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Poonam, ma'am.
I think
Hello.
some problems in joining the call.
Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yes,
Poonam, ma'am.
yes, yes, yes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Hi, Poonam.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Sandeep. This is that.
Yeah, Siddharth. Over to you.
I think we should start.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out and joining us for today's talk series. My name is Siddharth Prasad and I am a fourth year student at Anand National University. Just a little instruction before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box in your Google Meet control panel. I'll bring them up during the presentation and we will also have time for questions at the end also. So if you want to view on demand, this session will be recorded and will be reverted back via mail. So today we are presenting to you Concept Talks, a talk series between student and practicing architects that addresses various horizons where we learn the art of conceptualizing. This would help us refine our design thinking towards crafting a resilient human habitat. Concept being the core part of architecture, many a times we are in quest to complete the studio requirements, due to which we get very less amount of time to work for concept, which results into ungratified and discontented design outcomes. We shall start right away. Today is the first of the series being presented by Professor Snehal Nagarse, Professor Poonam Chambadia, and Professor Sandeep Paul. We are honored to have you share your thoughts and gain knowledge. Now, without further any ado, we'll turn the time over to our first presenter, Professor Sandeep Paul. He is an associate professor at Anand National University. Also, as a senior associate, he is actively involved in urban design consultancy and research activities in the Urban Lab. Sir, please.
Yeah, Siddharth, thanks. I didn't know you are going to make it
Yes.
so formal. Uh, However, my presentation is kind of not that formal. So, thank you, Siddharth and team. It's really a good initiative. I will share my screen. I have some things to share. Yeah. All right. So, I hope you all can see my screen. Uh,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So, don't expect me to talk on this talk series. I would officially be kind of putting myself on mute and letting your mind read this presentation, and you can decide your own takeaways. Then we can have our own question and answers followed by this. So let me start, and please note that I'm not going to speak till the presentation ends. So I hope you are attentive while I keep changing the slides. Okay, so here it goes. So that's about it. So I hope yeah. So I hope your mind could receive the signals, and with that, I would want again Siddharth to take over, and we can come back to the questions.
Great job.
Siddharth, you are on mute.
Need to
Siddharth, you are on mute.
Mute.
Sorry. Thank you, sir, for sharing your impeccable thoughts with us and participating so effectively. Moving forward to our next presenter, Professor Poonam Tamnolia. She has been working as a consultant to various private, national, and international organizations. Apart from this, she drives a keen interest in research work of temple architecture in Western India. She is a zone coordinator and ex-commissioner member of e-commerce India. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Sandeep, for setting a very nice stage with a lot of questions. Since Sandeep didn't say anything, I am going to do the reverse. My presentation is just going to be a background for you to focus, and I'm going to talk. Okay, just give me a minute to present. Can you see my screen? Can you see the screen, Siddharth?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what I'm going to start with is a very basic concept and something which has interested me very much. And some of the students who have attended my history class also know about this. But suddenly when we come to architecture or we come to design, we find that the first thing we are bombarded with and told us that you need to produce your ideas, you need to produce concepts. And we are lost. But the idea of the concept has been ingrained consciously or subconsciously in our minds since our childhood. And why I say this is the very basic block of concept comes from very much of the childhood. Everybody recognizes this as Lego blocks. We've always played with these blocks once or other in our lifetime. And why these blocks interest me is that anybody can create anything out of this. They are just pieces lying around, and a child picks it up and creates this or creates this. And when we become architects, we create this, we create this, we create this, we create this. These are all Lego blocks put according to one's imagination, one's ideas, one's ideologies into a certain form, a certain shape, to form beautiful architecture or landscape or whatever, or design. So where does this come from? What is design? How does this concept originate? And what is a concept? When we were students, when we were as architects, this question used to plague us also a lot. And largely one starts thinking that, is it form which is going to come from a is the function which is the concept, are the spaces which are the concept, or is something which is abstract which is a concept? Is it form follows function or function follows form? These are the very basic questions which plague us throughout the architectural journey. Neither is wrong, both are right, and they have their own dimensions, and they create their own spaces, and they create their own ideas. The first thing which is largely in vogue and what everybody craves for, what architects want to do, is they want to create an identity which speaks loud, which speaks for itself, and which is either abstract or it's either formal, but it stands out in itself and it calls itself form. And this is what largely a student thinks that should be a concept. But not everybody thinks like this. Not neither do all architects think like this. So what are the other ways in which you can generate concept, or what is a concept? Something which comes as the first thought. That if you are sitting to design, and something which comes as a first thought, as a first design, as a first idea, and we put it on paper, is that a concept, or something that is developed from that which is a concept? Something which is based on sight. How is the site talking to us? Before going to site or after going to site? What are the various elements of the site? If I am moving through a site, then what is the site giving to me? What am I feeling? What am I understanding? If there is a tree, or if there is a contour, or if there is if it is greenery, or if it is dry, then what is the idea which comes to my mind is also a concept. From that feeling, what I would like the person who is going to walk through that site, and how am I going to materialize into a physical form, or through a physical form into a feeling, is also a concept. This is one example of a project which we had done. It's a very simple farmhouse, a very small site, and they needed a weekend home. And what is architects see? What is a concept? The site gave us the concept. There were beautiful mango trees interspaced in a grid with smaller guava trees. And they had done it for a reason, that they wanted to optimize on space, and they wanted to, the idea was that the soil goes better with two kinds of crops. So the idea of the grid and the existing drainage pattern gave the shape and the form to the structure. The existing idea of agriculture gave the form to the landscape. So that became a concept in this. And it was very clear that the landscape needed to be overpowering rather than the architecture. So the building came to be very, very simplistic. But the landscape took over as a concept. So this is also a concept. The other thing which forms a concept or guides a concept is the user group. Who are the user? What are their aspirations? What are their ideas? What do they want? And then when our understanding of the site, that when we are looking at the site, what is the site demanding, and what is the user group demanding? And then what are our aspirations and ideas which are going to guide it? What are the local materials which are available, are also one of the major guiding factors for a concept. The seen and the unseen. A lot of things, a lot of feelings, a lot of ideas, a lot of philosophies which historically got transformed into architecture. So how do you transform philosophies? How do you transform ideas? How do you transform a certain basic concept of a philosophy into physics, into mathematics, and that mathematics into architecture is also a concept. Sometimes architects use all together, sometimes they use some of them, sometimes they use one of them, but these all form a part of a concept. The user guides the concept in a way that how would that user want to feel in that space. The architect would guide the concept in terms of how would he or she provide the user and balance that concept with the site for a design. The concept is science, the concept is history, the concept is philosophy, the concept is an idea, and a concept is a lot of mathematics. That is how I would end my presentation today, and leave it for a lot of questions further into Sandeep's presentation.
Okay. Many thanks for addressing your notions and volunteering your time, ma'am. It was very interesting and informative. Let's move ahead for the concluding presentation by Professor Snehal Nagarset. She is an urban designer, architect, and interior designer, currently Dean and Professor at Anand National University. She has more than 25 years of experience in architecture and interior design practices. During her career, she has engaged in a collaborative practice and has been associated with diverse projects ranging from designing products to urbanism. Ma'am, please.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for a lovely presentation, Sandeep and Poonam. Glad that you all very large level with questions, and Poonam has kind of put it down in a nutshell with kind of putting down the various modes of it. And I'm going to make it very subjective. I'm going to actually tell you a story about how we looked at concept and what was concept to us. So when we were studying, I belong to SEP to say, let's concept. So it was always a joke amongst our students. चलो भाई कौन करेगा concept ऐसे चालू करते थे हम लोग. And it was a great con job that we used to understand really concept क्या होता है. And as students, it was one of those things that luckily for us, our teachers were very adamant. हमारा concept लाओ और उस पे चालू करो. So we were very lucky. And we didn't really begin with that idea that we had to have a concept. When I look back, I realized that there were students who were very methodical and who were looking to order the space. And for them, concept was how will I systematize something? A breed that was questioning systems. And so we were kind of trying to look for the incidental, look for the idea. But what I realized is that we have to make a choice. And that choice primarily comes from not architecture, and that choice situations that we look at and then we draw into, but it comes from possibly a philosophy or a value true to yourself. You might not realize it in your initial years of education, and you might not even realize it till you graduate. But we were lucky in our times, our fees were not very heavy. The architects didn't earn a lot, so there was no pressure of us to immediately start earning. So we spent a lot of time practically doing, which was a research project. I practically took 3 years in my research and spent a lot of time trying to understand architecture. Then when we got a little clearer after reading a lot that actually concept was actually the idea and it was the ability to recognize an idea. I'm going to explore this idea for this project. And it's in a nutshell, that's what we generally do. I'm going to share a presentation, but I'm not very confident how to do it. I will try. I haven't done sharing screen and I'm not the best person with technology.
Snail, I can navigate
how
you
do
through
I do that?
if you allow. So yeah,
Right now or this is
present now. Go to present now.
Yeah, my entire screen.
So click on that the center of the window.
Now, okay, when to present now?
So no, before that you need to click on that window.
Present now has three things.
Entire
which
screen.
window?
Entire screen.
Which? Oh, entire screen. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
See, I didn't teach well.
Okay. No, you taught us well so that we can
okay, go to my
help
presentation. So now what?
So now go to your entire screen and you have a window, pop-up window which opens. Yeah, now click in the center of that window, that pop-up window. So you'll select that. And once you do that and then share, yeah.
It says share. And I say share.
Yeah. No, before share, you have to click on that window.
Okay. And then I have to minimize it.
Done.
Yeah, it is sharing.
Do I minimize
done.
this?
I think you're done.
good.
It's coming, it's
Okay,
coming.
now I
Just
have my
open your
presentation.
It is showing
Right.
now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the first house that we designed. This was a house that was situated in 22 acres outside Surat, and we were very lucky. So I take the opportunity of designing to make friends and to argue with friends, to question things, and to do many, many things. So this was a house that we made. As you can see, we were struggling with the idea. We were not absolutely sure what we were doing. We had a face to the city which was in stone. We had an inside which was made from borrowed elements. And it was one large space. And this was the other side which looked into the farm. And the idea was not to use concrete. When we started off this house, we said that it's sitting in such a beautiful surrounding. We will see to the toilet. That was the only idea that we had. We made a very simple house. This is the other side. What you saw as the first slide was the front side. And this is where the side opened up. We had a little tank which was actually their swimming pool. And it was also the tank which fed the farm. And we used a lot of different elements, as you can see. We come from the idea that doesn't look at architecture as an expression which needs to shout. We are trying to look at architecture which will fit. But you could have architecture which is very strong, very solid, and create a counterpoint. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong, but it was a choice that we made, and then we carried a choice through. And that is what I want to explain. So now here is a kind of a presentation question that I have that says that there is architecture, right? So you don't need to build it, pretty much like what you people do in school. It doesn't go into the building. So I don't have a client who I negotiate with, and I kind of keep sharpening my choice with various things, with his or her liking, with the possibility of the people who are going to build it, where it's located. So there are so many things that will govern it. And of course, there'll also be me because I'm exploring architecture. So I don't think that I'm only an interpreter, and I come from that realm that looks at architectural expression not just as an interpreter, because I also put in my soul in it. Okay, so I always tell my clients, how elastic is your mind? Let it be the most elastic, because we will stretch and we will create something that is meant for posterity. So I'm going to talk about ideas that are me. One is housing memories. So there are acts of storytelling which are enshrined in memory. There is a break in our tradition of storytellers. We're looking at a collective memory and I felt that a collective memory takes place in a memorial. Discuss maybe 3 projects which are memorials, which we have done to kind of explain to you, because in a memorial, the idea is the strongest. And I thought if I'm looking at the idea that governs architecture, but it will also give language, it will also give expression, it will also give building. So as much as it houses an idea, it does. Okay. So we're going to look at a memorial that we designed for Kutch. All these were competition projects, and I'll try and look at them. So this is how memorials were made in India. They are called khambiyas. Project, we started wondering as to what we should be doing. So that it's stuck, I think. So there you have people who die and we make memory for them. Traditional memorials that are there. And these memorials are still present. People still use them in their lives. They light a lamp on a certain day, as you can see. These I came across memorials in Kutch, and you can see there are different forms. This is a very interesting one. This is about they commemorated 72 soldiers who fought a war. 72 soldiers lined up. They all died, but a memorial kind of talks about that narrative and talks about that time period when they fought and they helped the king. And it's so beautiful that in that memorial, you have history, you have expression, you have folk, you have, and it's all put in over there. So this is another form of memorial where people go there, which is done incidentally on a particular day when they remember the dead and they create these piles. And it happens in many cultures. So this is a kind of a study that I did when I was looking up for a project that I was supposed to handle. And I realized that memorials are traditions. And these traditions talk about our culture. But we are looking at it, how should we, in our capacity, look at it? So I'm going to talk about a memorial that we designed. As you can see, this is 26 January, a natural calamity. A lot of people were lost. There was a huge earthquake that we faced on this side of the world. Times there was a tremendous loss. And one such event that shook us all was 400 small children who were out on a march past were lost. And we were asked to do this competition. And as you see, people who work for me are part of my team, and they're always, and they're not just a team, but they're faces with names. So this is me, Falguni, who is my partner for a long time in architecture, Komal, who used to work with us, and Hamid, who was also working with us. Designed this particular memorial. And we were trying to figure out how do we look at this memory and how do we address this idea, which is something, and kind of talk about how talk about feelings, but we also wanted to talk about happiness. And we didn't want a place which really looked at only sadness. So this was what we called it, the Ode to the Children of Anjar, a memorial park. So we were given a site, and it would be a great place to cherish memories. And these were the kind of images that were out after that day. So many children, people had gotten hurt, but there was so much life in them. So we said that what would be the happiest memory that a parent will have with his or her child? And what it would be the Mela. They would have gone, they would have enjoyed. It would have been a fun time. And we said, okay, so we tried to take clues. So we said it was a Mela. We said it was going to be a place which will link the people and the children, and it would bridge the past and the future, but in a positive way. We also looked at, because Kutch is very predominant with the idea of Abla, we also looked at the idea of this particular Farakdi, which seems to be a very common name, and also what represents Anjar, which is these bird feeders. So there was place, there was people, and that's what we were talking about. Let's figure out that day. And we said, you know, in our stories we have, it says that people become stars when they die. And so I was trying to think of that as the most positive to explain to somebody. My daughter had lost a fish and I would say, oh, she's become a star. So I thought that was a very positive reinforcement of something. So we said, okay, let's look at the. So we said that we have 400 children who have gone to the heavenly abode, and they're going to be the stars. So that we took ahead, and we said that we will take a memory of a playful time, and we created these kind of maps, I call them. They can be called pinwheels, they can be called whatever. So we said we will put these up in that place as a memory for each child. And it will move with the wind and it will have life in it. It will also be, and how do you place 400 such things on the ground? I mean, you do a grid. If I was a modern architect, I would have placed it in a grid. But I didn't know what to govern their placement. So I took the idea of 26 January, star position map. We put it down, and then we said we will map the stars which were the brightest. And in each place, we will put one Faradi, an idea. Then we said that we will talk about the place. So the place has these bird towers. There is a tradition to the bird. So we said we will look at the idea of bird tower. So we will say 400 birds probably can find house over here, and people can come here and read. We also thought of a cycle of life, and we said that what will the birds eat? They will of course eat this, but they will also eat some green. So we thought of these 4 trees which will bring to the place, and we thought of borsali because that has fragrant flowers pretty much round the season, and it will have fragrance in this park. That was our site, and that central open space that you can see was given to us as a site. It sits amongst these places, and these are the streets that these children were actually. So we did this very simple. We put the trees on one side, the birds on the other side. We did a disc of stars, which was like the heaven above, and the farakdi is inside. We tilted the earth so that star constellation place was tilted so that they got an edge on one side to sit in one bench, and you had these benches as the other benches where people could come and sit and you could feed. There was a central place where you have. We also wanted to bring in the craft. So we said, what if we set the abla around each pole and signify the idea of the star and make it and give it an expression, where the person who does this karigari will also have some place, some role to play. So that is how these were very initial stages of learning 3D in the office, and you can see there are horrendous 3D renders. So my office was very, very nascent in learning this. So this was the idea, and this is what we presented. This is very simply a park with 400 farakdis mapped there, 4 borsali trees for the birds, and 4 chabutras for the bird project. And we hope that when this farakdi would move, we would be able to install some lights which will light up. So there would always be lights which will blink. Yeah. The second one that I'm going to talk about is more horrific. This was a man-made calamity. This happened in November 1984. This was another project, competition project that we took up, and we said, what will we look at? This was our study. It was, we do in-depth study up as much data as possible to find and to develop a feeling that Poonam was talking about. And this is a memorial at Bhopal. Was the lead, I was the second. Vimal, Avinash, Vipul were the people who worked on the project. So we talked about this ground zero where it occurred, and we said what would be the blueprint for survival. And we realized that it can only be the green, and it can only be the idea of solace in the flowers and the green. So we kind of looked at this whole site and we said, how do we transform it? It is actually the ground zero. Many parts were still at that time blue. So we said we will have fragrance rings. We zoom down on the flower as parijat. We will talk about the movement and the sunflowers. We talk about see as cleansers from our Indian kind of herb understanding. So, and the toxic indicators are the which had to be purified. So that was what our idea was. And then we took off. We left pretty much the factory as it is as a reminder to us as to how wrong can we go. We created a ring of water around it so that people cannot really go on it but walk only elevated and safe so that nothing gets soiled. This was seen as a sculpture factory that was there. We still were trying to figure out what will be the kind of traditions that we will form and how will the memorial become alive. We created this walk along the water. We wanted people to be somber, of course. We had gotten down the faces of everybody who was lost. We thought we would have, depending on whichever faith they believed in, they could put flowers. I think most places you put flowers at least. You could have if you don't believe in that, that's okay. So that was one kind of a thing that we looked at, and we kind of developed it. Then we looked at a very, which was the Salt March, and this happened as an act of will, and this happened in 6th April 1930, the Salt March that Gandhiji did. We were also incidental competition, and we started working on it, and I think we worked on it for 2 years. We were blacklisted because we didn't give, not corrupt, and we didn't give anybody in the department any money. And we were finally after many we filed a suit against them, and we were cleared of our our name. And so this was seen as the act of will, and this is seen as a and we say we kind of, they were looking at it, it's a tourism competition. So we thought that how do we see it? So we said that Dandi will be seen as an act of in tourism, and there is a significance of the place because of the history and where Gandhiji picked up the salt. The march is very significant, so that becomes for us and an idea. And we also thought that this could also be a place which will represent new acts of satyagrahas and revolution, probably start in their lives. So here I took the lead, Falguni was second, and we had Shweta, Cyrus, and Vipul working on the competition. As you can see, this was a very iconic picture that is there about the site. The other picture that was very important was this Gandhiji walking on a path, which when I went to the site still had something like that. So this is the site. It was 8.52 square kilometers of site. It was a huge site. Many days to kind of understand the site. We walked around. We did a recce of the place. The population is about more than 5 lakhs. So we did a research, and we found that they couldn't burden this place because the place didn't have water. And when we went after so many years, after 30 years, I think we went in 2006, we found that the place still suffers water shortage. And it was really a shock, but we thought that, my God, what a beginning. We can take up that idea. idea for place which will talk about that. So this is how the place is. That is Dandi village, Saifi Villa, where Gandhiji lived. Actually, finally, after the whole thing in the morning, did the pratna from where he was picked up also. So this is the picture that really, really took my breath away, because it talks about the resolve of a man who walked from Ahmedabad all the way there and picked up salt, and that was the idea. This is where the concept, if you want to call it, but I call it idea, kind of began. So these are my drawings of the site. Generally, when I go to the site, walking alone, I let the site talk to me. We had already done our research beforehand. These were the kind of things that I thought of at that time. Shortage, I was thinking of these paras, which are essential because the site is really low lying. We started thinking of we wanted to go to the sea edge, of course. Then we said that how will we purify water? So one idea was that can we use modern science? Can we create these kind of, acrylic or glass globes, which will kind of give you salt, but will also give you pure water? So that was an idea that kind of gave me some things to think about, and I was drawing the as ideas, as today, as time, as what we as architects can do. This is how the site looks at. We realized that there was a low-lying land which actually contained water before it runs away into the sea. So we thought we will do that. We will create these paras as walks that people can actually walk on. Very sludgy over there because it's low-lying, and it has this kind of sand which will not be very comfortable to walk all over. So we thought we will create the path. There is this little canal that goes across which has these coconut trees. So we thought we will let that remain, and we will kind of plant more coconut. We'll mark an edge to something. They collect this kind of green this water, and along that area they do prawn farming. It was here to do farming at all, because Gandhiji always talked about that, and we should have farming is a very strong idea that drives us. So that was another idea we picked up and moved into the world, and that is what I saw, that they were actually doing prawn farming there, and I thought it was fantastic, and maybe we should continue. So these are, so when we, I realized that when people come there, they might want to sit. And I drew inspiration from Gandhi Ashram. And I said, what if we had these kinds pause, which happens along the walk. And so the basic idea is that you walk, but you also pause. It is when you pause and when you walk is when you kind of rationalize the ideas. So that was one of the things that I talked about. This was a very famous sentence: next to air and water, salt is perhaps the greatest necessity of life. It is the only condiment of the poor. Even cattle cannot live without salt. He starts this walk from Ahmedabad, goes to Aslali, Bareja, and he goes through 22 villages, and he does this walk in 25 days. It was 2 miles. It crossed 10 rivers, and it went through 22 villages, and he gave 2 speeches at each village, in the morning and in the night. He halted. So this was the study, and this was what we were looking at, and this is what then we kind of thought, which we'll talk about. Why not reenact the memory of walk itself? So what if we draw this memory on walk on the ground that takes you to the place where he picked up? So we can recount the footsteps, we can bring history to life, and these were our initial models that we did as ideas that say that what if these are put across? And then, of course, I was thinking about various things. And I said, what if some villages came closer? Do you really have to follow the map? And do you really need to do that? Can we bring some villages closer? Can we look at that idea and allow for some villages to be some villages to just become places? We said, what if there is a start and there is a little museum? What if we compress it as time capsules? And what if we create a covering? And what if we create the other villages just as points to ruminate? So we kind of were working through, and these are ideas, but I'm taking that same idea and going across it. What if it was a cluster of villages where you had many walls and it became a museum? Coming to me, and each thought was rendered out and drawn and discussed, thought about, and then we said, it gets drawn as a plan, it gets drawn across site, it gets, and these are things that could have been okay, and we came down to these. No, we will have the para. We will say that we will bring out the museum. Let it be a museum that is naturally visited. It is not a closed space. Also, because Indians don't go to museums, we do very shoddy jobs in museums. So we said there will be walls, and what will be landscape. In landscape, when you walk across, depending on your interest, you will spend time. And then in the open, not confined to a museum, where history will be inscribed in stone and it will be absorbed incidentally along the walk. For each a tree, and between the walls was the village situated. And that was the idea that we took forward. This idea then can take shape, become very exhaustive. We can bring in words that he spoke at each speech. We went to the archives in Delhi and we actually studied, looked at possibilities of people who were, who could not understand language. So for them, we thought, what if there were points where they go close and press a button and speak? So Gandhiji's speech could also be there. You could talk about things. There were also many people who joined him in each village, and maybe we could give them a name and a face. So maybe we thought that that was one of the thoughts that can go forward. Now, as you see that the walk takes shape, the salt satyagraha gets, it kind of becomes the walk that you take along this. We thought of planting these trees which will take you on the water edge. It would be trees that will flower. We will, in that area, they do a lot of farming of these, these lilies that are put in wedding, and a lot of farmers do that farming. So we thought, what if we start embracing our landscape, which is natural, and not try and do an exotic garden, which is the water. We will also grow fruit-bearing trees such that coconuts will bring in some money and will help maintenance of the place. They will farming. Even though Gandhiji was a vegetarian, people still do it, and I don't think he will mind it. So that is how we continued the idea. There were these ruminating pools will actually be filled with lotuses, and you will have places to sit along that edge. There will be a walk. There were 81 satyagrahis that went with Gandhiji. So there will be one person. That is the final walk, we thought, that will take you to, as you can see, I am really drawn by windmill. Along the edge, there's a lot of breeze. We can do some windmill farming. That could be a tower of freedom where you can go and pick up a salt cubicle or maybe salt as a memoir over there. People who come here and take a satyagraha or take forward an oath can actually plant a tree and we of change. So these were ideas that were brought and woven into this place. To talk about the language, we went to Gandhi's place that he did in the oh God, where in his from this he never came back to Ahmedabad, and then he went and put up another ashram in Varda. In Varda. So we went and studied it. So we said the language we will develop for this place, for the people who come and stay, very simple. The structure will be exposed. It will be very rudimentary, very simple language. So we will do water harvesting. We will also harvest crop. So these harvest various crops, and depending on the season, it can change. So we were looking at even the idea of what is our landscape and how should our landscape be? Should it be evergreen? Should we have lawns, or should we embrace the idea of Gandhiji and do farming? So we took that idea forward. We said this is what it will be. So the basic idea is not to lose the tranquility of the place, but retain the character. So this is how it gets placed on the site, and this is as we imagined it. Of course, at the end of it all, we had started it. I think IIT was later on given the project, and and I don't know what they did. I have not gone back to the place. So this is what it is. So this is in place. This is how it is with reference to the village. So as you can see, if you hold on here, if you hold on to a quest, you do research, and you let that idea grow, it can become something. That's what I believe, and that is what I suspect things to be. Of course, I have taken very evocative projects. So pardon me. Projects that, of course, talk about very clearly the notion of an idea, and it depends on the notion of a concept. I've hogged a lot of time, so I will stop sharing. I have a student presentation, which if you want, I can share. I don't know. Tell me. It is a student's work who also looked at the idea memorial. Now you will have to tell me. I can't hear you guys. Siddhant, what is the time I've taken?
I think it's 6 o'clock, but you can take, ma'am.
I've taken a lot of time, so
It'll be okay.
So I should not show anything. I will stop sharing my.
No, Snehal. He's saying, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you can go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay. It's not much time.
And one more. Oh, it's a small one.
Go ahead with the presentation.
I've finished mine. So this is now a student's work that I thought was interesting because it still looks at something similar. I'm into sharing. Or am I already sharing? Am I sharing?
You're already sharing.
Great. I don't mind doing it.
Yes,
and if I have to do it all again, as you can see, I'm very lazy. So this is a student. She was doing her final year project. She's an interior design student. She's looking at reuse as an idea. She's post-earthquake again. She's talking. Pardon? Okay. How do I do
Make
that?
it full screen so it will be clear.
No, this one I don't station. Okay. I don't know if it's see all photos. Okay. I don't know how to do that. What did I do? I did something wrong.
Snehal, you can go back. You can minimize and go back to the image. The folder. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. And click on that image again.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, I think you can click next and it can keep going.
Okay. and she's talking about again earthquake. She's taken up the, I think it is the site was the mm, railways. It was done many years ago, so excuse me if I don't remember everything. Yes, hospital, police station. I think it is the Jubilee Hospital that she had taken up as a project. It was completely devastated, and she had taken this idea. This hospital as a ground, and she was trying to look at the idea. And her approach to the site was that it will become a place where you can enter from many sites. It becomes a so this is the front elevation which she was trying to build. She doesn't complete it. She lets it remain pretty much like a ruin. This is how it looks like from all the sides. These are her kind of images of the site that she looks at, and this is how she saw it: very dark, very murkily. This is how it existed. She kind of thought of doing these very complete columns, and kind of was trying to look at the shadow and look at life, which was thought of as by sun. She does this, draws out a chart, she draws a movement. So she divides the site as three kinds of possible movements and three different programs, programmatic drivers that were there. As you can see, I've forgotten a lot of it. She got earth from various villages from all over Kutch, and she packed it Lilpand to talk about all different people of Anjar and the various earth soil that was disturbed, and she brought it on the site and created this. Then this was route one that she talked about, which took you through a certain kind of site. She was looking at their traditions also. As you can see, as a teacher, we look at similar things. She also created these walls, which was of different layers of soil, which she got from various sites which were unearthed. And she also brought in craft. We have this kind of motif work that is there. So this is one kind of a part she look. The other part that she's looking at is where you actually are individual. You have a lot of these grave kinds of things. She's of course drawing tremendously from sight, and she's looking at the idea of contemplation. She's drawing the idea of rituals, death rituals, which look at putting or and putting ghee, and that's what happens. So she kind of looks at those rituals, and she looks at the idea. She creates these monuments, same route that she is talking about. So one is the temple, and that the other is vision, and the third that she's looking about is associations and memories, where she thought there will be a kind of a place where people find an active place. It is also a place which will have memories. So these are three kinds of things, three routes, three distinct situations. One is the rituals of the past, one is and today, and one is making it alive. So that is how she treated the ground. She largely only treats the ground after kind of holding the so she kind of reinforces it and restructures it so that it doesn't fall. This is her presentation. And Reena, I've forgotten her surname. I can see her face, but I don't remember her name. Her face, but not her surname. Reena Agarwal, sorry. Put up this presentation, and she went on to do her thesis with me, where she actually studied memorials, and she did a book on memorials. audience. This is one that is there, which I thought would be very in continuation, and there is another very short presentation, but I think we will keep it for some other day. All the time. How do I stop sharing? I close this window.
There is a dialog box which is coming. Stop sharing. Just click on it.
Ah, yes, great. Okay, thank you very much. I was exhausted, and I'm sure I bored you all. Uh, so, so that is
Yes, ma'am.
concepts.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is how we use concepts in design, in practice, and in work.
Thank you so much, ma'am,
Okay.
for your delightful words and an eye-opening symposium. Your presentation was highlight of the day today. Also, it was a wonderful to have such high regards on purest of architecture that you have flourished. So, thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I think we would like to open for
Yeah.
questions. After receiving your valuable responses via Google Forms, I have duly noted few thought-provoking questions for our speakers by the attendees. So, my first question is directed to Sandeep sir. Shall I start, sir?
Can I
Yes,
have the
please.
screen out? I don't know how to do that. Sorry.
Uh, just click in
Just
the
see
center
how
of
I.
your screen so it will be unpinned.
Do you have the Google window open, the Meet?
Yes. Yes.
I think should be minimized somewhere.
Close Google window. Actually. Okay. 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 Fine.
Or you can log
Fine.
off and
Anyways,
again
I
join.
I, I can't see also.
Yeah.
That's this. Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
How do I do that?
So the first question is, what can be the process to deriving any concept like architectural expression, form, emotion used as a concept for the initial stage, or what could be the another base aspect for the concept? How a generic concept or a unique concept can affect the development of any design?
Okay. So as Snehal was mentioning, and Poonam was mentioning about, there are different ways to arriving at a concept. So the first, there are different ways. So I've seen a lot of architects who have either picked up on what the site has to tell them as a designer. So like how Snehal interestingly mentioned that she would venture out on her own with a sketchbook and probably try to absorb what the site has to say. Sometimes it is the physical or kind of tangible elements of the context. Yeah. Or so sometimes I think
I think I will.
I think others need to mute their microphones. It is reverberating.
Am I audible? But not. Sorry. Sorry.
yes. Yes, Neil, thank
I
you.
joined twice.
uh,
That's why. Sorry.
okay, thank you. Yeah, so I was talking about see very clearly it comes out as concept is geopardized, I think. And probably when we are studying, I even when I was a student, that कॉन्सेप्ट को एक बड़ा जायंट एलिफेंट बना दिया था हमने, जबकि कॉन्सेप्ट्स कैन बी रियली सिंपल. They are, what I see and what I understand today is that they can be inspirations to design, or to develop your design. It starts with an idea, and that is what a concept is. Like sometimes the idea is to respond to the site well. Sometimes the idea is to respond to the program. Like in the previous semester we were doing urban studio on civic centers. So somebody wanted to interpret civic as a term and as a public space. So there can be ways and means of arriving at a concept. So they can be physical elements, and they can be also non-physical or intangible elements. Like suppose there are words like probably what I can remember is transparency, or probably I would quote a concept what uh, Charles Correa adopted for Sabarmati Ashram. He simply wanted to reinterpret the village life and simple life of Mahatma Gandhi. So the concept actually is totally under the control of the designer, right? You are hired as a technician or as a design expert to give a right project to your client. So there can be one concept or there can be several concepts. The concept sometimes comes after the design. That also is possible. And most of the times it happens that way. Sometimes the concept comes in midway while you are picking up ideas, dropping off ideas. So I think as far as the concept goes, it's a very crazy animal. It can come overnight, sometimes it cannot, sometimes it doesn't come at all. So I would say in 5 years, you are exposed to different kinds of projects and how to deliver, how to develop concepts. So the urban studio talks about picking up concepts at public architecture level, right? I'm sure the other studios establish on developing concepts in other scales. So it is very subjective decision, and don't make concept a very jeopardized or a big, don't be afraid of it. It can be as simple as that. Sometimes students come up with saying that playing with solids and voids is my concept. No, that is not a concept. That is not an idea. That is the translation of a concept or translation of an idea, right? So basically it's the strategy that you picked up कि मैं ये idea को solids and voids में interpret कर रहा हूँ, right? So the idea is actually the essence of your design, right? Which will continuously. So if in mid process you think that this design does not align with my original idea or my original concept, then you take a call. Do you want to change the concept or do you want to change the design, right? Or evolve your design according to a newer concept. So design is a journey that you will slowly, as you graduate and slowly get into projects, you will slowly get used to it, and you will know that there is an art of selling it to the client as well. So sometimes you also know that not all concepts work with all kind of clients. So that is something which the professional field will teach you. Yeah. Yes. If
Thank you,
anyone.
sir.
Yeah.
My second question is directed to Poonam ma'am. In this world, in today's world, why the student of architecture should study history of architecture? How can we see their relevance in today's architecture and history? And what is the difference between referring to and copying history? And how can we refer to history?
Why do we call it history? Is my question to all of you. Why do we call it history? Because everything that has happened has given something to the society. Okay. And again, one question Sandeep sir's presentation had given, the system of education or the imparting of education. So history became history because it needed to be taught. Something became ancient history, something became prehistory, something became uh, this, something became stylistic because it needed to be taught. It had to be the same language for me, and it had to be the same language for you. So when I'm talking about a certain period in time, say I'm saying, if I'm saying ancient history and if I'm saying Paleolithic age, okay, I and Siddharth or I and Sandeep are thinking about the same thought or ideology. Okay. Similarly, when you see history of architecture, you're looking at various stylistic architecture. Now, when you are saying Hindu architecture or when you are saying Greek architecture, uh, Hindu and Greek both are working with stone. They are both working with Trebatian. So why is one called Greek or why is one called Hindu? Largely, the religious architecture and the philosophies, when you look at it in religious structures, or as Snehal ma'am very clearly pointed out, in memorials or monumental structures, where the philosophies are very, very clearly highlights of the culture. Yes, you see a certain sort of things reflected, but otherwise when the stylistic names were given, they are again because of imparting of education, that when I'm saying Greek architecture, this is the stylistic idea which needs to come to the mind, and when I'm saying Roman architecture, this is the stylistic idea which needs to come to the mind, because Roman arch is actually not the Roman arch, it was initially done by the Etruscans. So that is one thing. Now, why do you need to know that? See, everybody takes different things from history. As students of architecture, you need to understand the methods of construction. You don't need to invent the wheel again every time. If somebody has already done something, how can you further it? How can you fusion it? How can you use it in the purest form or the impurest form? If you even look at history as history, and in history of architecture, things have evolved because of material, because of the location, because of the space, because of the idea of a person. But every time, at a certain point of time, people have looked back. If you see the European history, you have Roman, you have Greece, then you have Romanesque, which is again looking back. You have Gothic, you have Byzantine, you have XYZ happening. Again, you are coming to the Renaissance, and Renaissance is again looking back at classical architecture. Then again you are coming, and then there is a change in material, there is a change in technology, and you have this artificial material and a very fantastic material which you call concrete. But again you are moving forward with that concrete, with less is more, and then you are again looking at user dimension, that you need less, you don't need much more space, you need more space, you need less of ornamentation, you need this, you need that. And so you're going to philosophies, you're going to the site, you're going to the user group, and you're coming back to design, or you're coming back to your concept. But again, when you come during postmodernism is again trying to look at the classical styles of architecture and bring ideas into the modern architecture from the classical styles. So, and that is happening in everywhere in history. It is not only with architecture, it is with fashion, it is with ornaments, it is with everything. So whether what you learn from it and what you take ahead is up to you. It doesn't have to be a copy, but it can be an inspiration.
Can I add to this?
Yeah. Just one moment. And again, why I will connect it is with Snehal's main presentation of that last thing, the Dandi March, because I did that with one of my thesis students, and many ideas were different, but two ideas came out very, very similar. The Dandi March, because we also thought of us represented in a very different way, but we also put that Dandi March in that. And instead of putting a separate museum, we put locational museums as a part of the landscape depicting various incidents from that Dandi March. So, that is what history does, that, okay, this is there and this is the context and this is how it should be reflected. Then the reflections might come in a very different form, but that is what my answer is. Yes, Sandeep, sorry. And yes.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing. When we talk about this history, we're actually looking at beauty. What we're looking at is ultimate representation of what mankind has made and what has survived. It's like saying that you see a beautiful girl and you turn around, I see a man and I turn around. It is exactly in the same way that when I see a beautiful building, I should, as an architect, turn around. Pretty much in the same peacock, and I look at it and I talk about its color and so many other things. So why not history, and why not what mankind has made? Similarly, I would look at machines. So it is not necessary that we are looking at history from the point of view of, but it is just pure beauty, and we are drawn. We should be also careful to figure out what will we leave behind as history, as architects.
Exactly.
Because that should be the kind of idea that govern your practice, because that will put a pressure on you that no teacher will put.
Yes.
Exactly, ma'am.
That what will you leave behind as an which represents today's time. So that should be the one that stirs you on. And that is why you should look at history, because you want to better else has done.
What you take from it is up to you.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I think Snehal, I have something similar which Snehal was mentioning. That 100 years down the lane, 2020 will be a history. And if you want in 30-20 students of architecture studying the architectural style prevalent in 2020, then we better do some good work today. So the elements of history that we pick up are certainly standing testimony to that period of or that style of architecture which has now become kind of a point of reference for all of us, even hundreds of years since they were built. Unfortunately, if you look in the recent times, we are not building something which can be a point of historical reference. And over a period of time, you see the new projects that are coming up. Their time span is really short. They will, very few projects will be worth remembering.
True. So
Yes, sir.
I think that should be a
Exactly.
driving force as students at least.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I think next question, ma'am.
Yes, Siddharth, take it.
Yes. So next question is directed to Snehal, ma'am. Uh, difference between idea and concept, and how to understand or design with scale and proportions with respect to large site areas, for example area of the housing or institutional, and is concept required for interior design also. There are two questions for you, ma'am.
Okay, let me tell you, when I say concept or idea, what I'm talking about is value. So my values and my value system, and maybe as a student you may not have value systems, but for an individual who has lived a life over many years now, or even then actually, we have value system that we. So my value system could be driven by science, for instance, and I'm talking about efficiency. So can efficiency be a driving force and a concept and an idea? Yes, it can be. Can maintenance be an idea? Yes, it can be. So the idea is that I can pick anything I consider important. An idea and concept are just two words. To my mind, they're the same. You want to call something a concept or you want to call it an idea. It is something that drives your design. So, what I feel is that when I do iterations, how do I pick the next, move to the next? Something has to drive me to the next. Also, I have to reject a few and pick a few because I'll do many ideas. As you see, I don't do one idea. I think fast, sometimes faster than your computers, and I have a range of ideas that go through my mind, and I will draw them out. Not great drawings, but ideas that I can understand. I can reflect on to say, I'm going to take this one forward. So for Gandhiji, if I would have picked up the idea of glass domes and making fresh water, that could have been as well. But the basic idea, and probably the rendition would have been very different. It could have been multiple globes on site and which collected the water, maybe channels which were actually collecting the water, a reservoir, and that would have been an idea. And it could have generated some. So I feel that there is no difference between idea and concept in my mind. I don't think idea and concept drive me. Uh, I try various things. Many times when I'm confused, I draw profusely because then I don't know what I'm drawing. So I draw over and over, you know. And then I start looking, lines make sense. So out of that, something emerges, and I say, oh, I start seeing something. And then I make sense of it, and then I take it forward. Then I take it forward. Very nebulous. And as Sandeep was saying, that actually at the end of my whole design journey, I realized that design and I start recognizing it. So it becomes a plot. So I might have characters, that black and white, light and shadows. They are characters, but they are not ideas, and they're not a plot. An idea to my mind is a plot, which takes time. You develop characters, sometimes you develop storyline, sometimes you develop, and that's why when you're doing it, it's a conversation that you have with your own drawing, and sometimes teachers become interlopers, intruders, and say, "Acha, batao kya kiya hai?" And I know times when I've hated my teachers because I'm not sure what I'm doing. So I would rather talk about it. So find out whether you are doing something, and just like a picture inspires you, conversation might inspire you. So all the time we are not judging. So you people almost also must realize that all the time we are not judging. Sometimes when we are looking at a drawing, it may be very nebulous. It may not have all the ideas that you want to put in your final design. That is why it's a sketch design. But it would have multiple things that you might reject. So after a discussion, a thread may be picked up and you might actually choose an idea. And that may then become your concept. And that may then become the ideas your design. So as much as we tend to hide this process uh, from somebody else, because it is a very I understand that, and when I share those drawings, it takes a lot of courage to share those drawings because they are not great drawings, and they are very nebulous. They are thoughts, but it is essential that the thought is drawn out, and it is essential that you learn to communicate, at least to yourself, through that thought. Because only have a conversation with your drawing and you will move ahead to the next stage. Otherwise, it will not be possible. So it is essential for you to allow or your facilitator to be part of this conversation and to help you. As much as we grade you and we are seen on the other side, also there to help you. Sometimes to make a choice, sometimes to make a wrong choice, and then say, "Oh, I'm done. Sorry, I made a wrong choice for you, and I've taken you on a wrong. Sorry, let's take a U-turn." So it happens. We are also scratching the surface of that paper just as much as you are, and we are also trying to find meanings in those abstract lines that you are drawing just as much as you are. And if you can have that conversation with us, then you will lead the conversation. If you don't have a conversation with your own paper, then you will be at the receiving end. So this is what I think is teaching and learning. And that's why I always say, have questions for your teacher. Put them on the wrong foot. Ask questions, because that is what you will get out of them. And that is only possible if there is work and if there is things drawn, or if there is a story written. I don't as a way forward. I don't mind drawings as a way forward. I don't mind charcoal sketches as a way forward. But you have to tell me what to see in it. Because if I see a different story in it, it'll be a different Sita that you will have at the end of it. So that is what is essential.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Hello.
Yes, Siddharth.
One more. So moving for the next question. Next question is directed to Sandeep sir. As a student, this often appears as a problem to take the chosen concept to the final stage in the design process. So as it sometimes became vague and broad. So how can we improve or how does one evolve the initial concept into a final stage proposal? And please comment on the process of developing the idea, design idea.
Okay, very interesting and relevant question. Uh, so I always tell my students that the more you kind of put your thoughts on paper, the more you get confused, the more questions you are posed at, right? And so don't stop thinking. Point is, keep on thinking, keep on questioning, keep on developing new concepts, or at times looking for newer ways to design. And when you have the entire palette in front of you, that with this approach I'm getting this, with the other approach you can pick up a stark contrasting approach, and then you say that whether it works or it doesn't. So to get that judgment of what is working for you and what is not working for you as a designer, for that we need to put our thoughts on paper. Now Snehal was very elaborately, she explained the entire process. uh, you can pick up any medium, charcoal sticks, or pick up the right medium. Sometimes block models, somebody is good at visualizing it through models, fine, but pick up any medium which allows you to express or see mind. uh, so if I dissect the brain, the ideas are somewhere in the subconscious mind, right? They come from somewhere here back of the mind, and slowly you have to bring them out and register into something permanent, or as a sketch. You have to bring that out of your head and then bring it in front of you, and then when you compare it, you will get to know which ones work better and which ones don't work better. See, it's not maths or science. It is not 1 plus 1 which will add to 2. So you have to interpret. For that you need your mind to process that. So the first skill I would advise to develop a design concept is, even if you think it is a very naive idea, it is a very crude idea or very raw format, put it on paper. At least you should know which idea to discard, right? And then there is a theory of relativity. If you have some ideas to discard, you will know what you don't want to do, right? And then you will pick up things that you want to pursue, right? So somebody, again, I'll just quote few examples. Somebody does not want to make an architectural expression that blends with the concept, the context. Fair enough, but make that illustration and keep it in front of you, that if I blend, then this is what I will get. And that will give you a kick always of what you want to achieve. And it, believe me, it need not be that your first idea is equally translated into the final design. It never happens like that. And the master architects have evolved their designs. So from the first idea to the last drawing, it has to be evolved. Every time you pick up new dimensions to your design concept, modify it, because you are little more informed. So when we start our studios, on the first day you are the least informed. 1 month down the lane you are a little bit more informed. 2 months down the lane you are a little bit more informed. So keep changing, keep evolving that initial idea. And that's how the sole advice would be, get your ideas on paper. That is where the bottleneck I observe is, you don't know how to represent. So don't worry about representations, what Snehal was mentioning. We are not judging most of the times, but the ideas you have to communicate, right? And only then they will be, you can go through a selection process, you can go through prioritizing one idea above the other, and that's how the design evolves.
I'll add to this. What I have advised the students and many a times is that there are three things you need to do at every stage of design, which is what, why, and how. What you would like to do or change, why, because why is very important. Unless and until you answer that why, because as Sandeep sir said, there is going to be more confusions and there are going to be more questions. Don't leave those questions. answer those questions, and a process of elimination or the process of selection, whatever you want to call it. And then how do you want to answer those questions? So if you can do this thing, and then when you're putting things on paper, put that storyboard in front of you on a wall or whatever, and look at them together. That is, when you look at them together, something will give you an idea that whether you should select one or discard, or whether you should merge the two ideas and make something else. So that will come from that.
Thanks, ma'am.
Snehal, you are on mute.
Yeah. I wanted to add one thing. I remember
Ma'am
many
was saying
times
something?
students kind of keep going,
Yes.
trying to find the correct solution. So there is this great desire that there is going to be some correct solution. Let me tell you, there is no correct solution. That is the beauty of architecture. Your solution is your solution. My solution will be mine for the same thing, and Poonam's will be hers, and Sandeep's will be his. And no correct. In that path that I am following, you can check what I have done. If I have a lens that I have, you can check me with that lens. That is my focal point 5.6 or not. And that is the reason why for us concept becomes an implement. If you know that, you will be able to check it with that. And it, as Sandeep was saying, it doesn't have to emerge in the first day, second day, fifth day, seventh day. It can happen on the last day. It doesn't matter. Things can fall into place whenever. That is all right. You have to teacher to allow
Thank
you
you,
to
ma'am.
do that.
Thank you.
Are we saying
So
goodbye?
the next question is
Are you all
directed
done?
again to Sandeep sir and Poonam ma'am. Uh,
Continue with that.
yes, ma'am. So next question is directed to again Sandeep sir and Poonam ma'am. The concept behind the design is a very large process and varies from a very programmatic to an intangible approach. So what type of concept to apply where and how these two approaches can be combined and justified?
Do you want to take this? You want me to take?
No,
Okay.
Noreen, please. No.
Again, through these discussions, there are ways which you will also learn in your way, that everybody will have a different way of approaching idea or in concept. Somebody will take up the program and look at the whole program and say, okay, this is the area requirement, this is what it is, and this is how I will go ahead. As a first thought. Or there might be parallel thoughts in a mind that, okay, like when I do it with a parallel thought. Okay, this is my site and this is how I'm going to look at the site. This is my program and this is how I'm going to look at the program. These are my ideologies or philosophies which I come from, whatever experience I have. I put it on a study board parallelly, and then I try and see how all the three can be merged or not merged. uh, Somebody will look at only the intangible, try and put a lot of philosophies, and then design a certain idea and put it on paper. It also depends on for whom or for what I am designing. Say for, if because I have done some religious institutions and all, and if I am doing for that religious institution, my first and foremost thought comes from the intangible, that what are the philosophies, because there, that in the depiction of that philosophy or that institution or the ideologies of their institution is coming foremost. Then the functions part of which is their requirement, that this is something which I, so that the programmatic. Okay. And then I'm looking at the side, that how is the side going to help me look at my ideologies and look at my programmatic requirement, and bring that pragmatic and intangible together for something which is I won't call it right, but which is which is appropriate. Because what, according to me, what I feel is in architecture, not every nothing is wrong. I mean, it is, as Nihal ma'am said, it is my idea, it might be your idea, so nothing would be wrong, but not everything is right.
Can we drop the ma'am?
Sorry.
Thank you.
That is what my idea is. Sandeep, if you want to add something, just give me a moment.
I think well covered. I think
Just
that
give
should
me
be
a
great.
moment. I'll be back.
Thank you, ma'am. Hope
Yeah.
the questioner has got the answer. So next question is again directed to Poonam ma'am. We at presently majorly just focus on physical objects as an inspiration. So it would be very helpful if you can comment how we can evolve concept basis on intangible aspects rather than physical.
Sorry, Siddharth, can you repeat the question? Sorry, very sorry.
Okay, I'll repeat it again. We at presently majorly just focus on physical objects as an inspiration. So it would be very helpful if you can comment how we can evolve concept basis on intangible aspects rather than physical.
What see, the one thing is that what do you mean as an intangible aspect in the language, a word, the way Sandeep was explaining, that if you take transparency, now transparency is an intangible aspect. How are you going to explore that in your design? Are you going to explore it through materials? Are you going to explore it through use of space, or are you going to use it through use of elements, or not using elements? That is something which you will have to decide. So that is again, because with my background in conservation, I look back, and a lot of things I look back in history. When you're looking at temple architecture, say, and if you're looking at temple architecture, and I'm studying in detail the philosophies and histories and the geometries in temple architecture, the geometries which are coming from the Vastu Purusha and then turning into uh, grids, and those grids turning into temples. Now that grid need not turn into temple, it can turn into a skyscraper for all I care. So what I am taking from that is the understanding of that philosophy, which is very, very organized, which is very, very symmetric, which is very, very uh, giving me an understanding of, without the modern technologies, of how I can create through geometries something so high and something so balanced, which gives me a certain kind of a form, and then I go ahead and use it with concrete or steel, and I use it for skyscrapers. So the idea is coming from the philosophy of balance, from the philosophy of Hinduism as being very steady, very poised, which is getting transformed into geometries of grids, and that grids are then getting transformed into skyscrapers. So the idea is coming from a very, very intangible aspect to a very, very philosophical aspect, and then getting transformed into architecture, which is, one is a direct representation of the philosophies, the other is something which has come out from those philosophies. So that is what
I think to add to what Poonam is saying, suppose if we all saw Snehal's presentation and the projects that she presented. So for this is my reading that probably in the earthquake memorial, the intangible reference to idea or concept was the memory of those children, the the hope that it brings, right? The the childlike vibes, or what you say, the vibrancy of that space, so they were all intangible ideas. They then, ma'am, kind of Snehal and team was looking at how to translate that intangible idea of 400 young children and commemorating something which happened in the history, and then pick up something into a more tangible concrete. So she could pick up those farakadis, she could pick up those constellations on the same day. Unless you have that intangible idea, I don't think that tangible idea would have come out so well. So, just to share those thoughts.
No, and as architects, you have to understand that at the end of the day, you have to put it into some sort of a physical form. So when you're looking at intangible, you get so driven by the social aspects. We have to at one stage understand we are not activists, but we are trying through architecture to get that feeling, that form, that intangible architect put into the physical form, so that it can evoke another set of feelings, whoever is looking at it. Now that feeling, whoever is looking at it, belongs to that person. You can try to the maximum that you have put the same idea of what you had learned or what you had thought, but the idea of feeling which is of an individual is the right of an individual. So you try to the maximum as an architect of what you are looking at the feelings and putting the same feelings in the physical form, but the interpreter is going to interpret to a certain level according to his or her own thought.
Thanks, ma'am. So, the next question is directed to Sandeep sir. In condition where we are supposed to design a multi-purpose or a multi-story building, which does not have any fixed program, and programs may differ on each floor. In this condition, how to start thinking about designing? Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute.
Sorry, happens. So, so as a as an architect or designer for such kind of projects which has multiple users, multiple programs in one architectural element or in one building, probably that is the time when at least what I would do is I will put everything in one format. I mean, I would put uh, each users, I will put requirements, what are their needs, what are their aspirations, right? So, and then when I put every user group, every program in front of me, that is when I'll have to go through a process of clubbing things, prioritizing things, right? Or kind of dealing with all the user groups in a combined or a collective uh, programmatic element or segregated programs, right? So as a designer, I'll have to do all this filtering process so that the entire program gets channelized into boxes first, right? That this user group needs this, or this is their aspiration. Then we see how they club between user groups, right? And then as a designer, I would say that, okay, can I mix them or can I not mix them? Then that is the decision that I need to make. And then first priority will be, as a designer, if you ask me, then looking at the social aspects, why not try to mix them, right? And then if it really works, like suppose I cannot mix them, right? Then you segregate across levels or across horizontally, right? So that is the outcome of your understanding. But first you have to process the user groups, process their needs, right? Process the program itself, interpret the program, right? Then go with the site, that what are the strengths that the site is offering. If it's a huge site and you can segregate horizontally, fine. If not, then you have to go vertical, right? And then see if there are ways of also clubbing things. Like sometimes you physically segregate them but visually you don't, right? Or sometimes it is both ways, visual and physical segregation. So that would be my idea of trial and error of a complex program or a complex user group. I think if Snehal can add to it.
I don't know. I was just thinking when you put the question, I was thinking of a program of that kind, and I was thinking of Sejima's program, where I don't think that there is a very clear understanding of what happens in that place. And she actually goes on to define it and does it very differently in the manner that she says that there are controlled spaces, there are nebulous spaces, there are open spaces. Define the program, she doesn't define the user, but she defines maybe the nature of things that architecture has. And it has the ground, it has the slope, it has. So I guess it might be interesting to look at architecture not necessarily through program personally, because I feel that when architecture is looked through program, it looks through maybe uh, a program. If the architect tries to say, what should this building be for me to experiment, I take a very how shall I, selfish position as an architect. And then I say that if I were to look at it and what is the chance is it going to offer to me, and then I take off, and then I can create probably connections of dots, as Sandeep was saying, but not necessarily programmatic, but different ways of looking at it. Then it can open up a different idea. Sometimes I might even allow a process to drive me to do things. So I'm not responsible. Process, and that process is bringing this out. So this is my answer. So it absolves me of taking the responsibility of an action, which is what happens to many that do computational understanding of architecture. They kind of design a system, that system will bring out a result, and then you say, I have an architecture which is emerging of what I think is important, and here I get an answer. So you can take those kind of positions also. So I think we don't necessarily have to worry programmatically so much, I feel, because it might be interesting to go beyond programs and look at architecture, because all the architecture that we value today have lost their programs, and we don't know what they were used for, you know. So we always wonder कि क्या करते थे यहाँ पे लोग, इतना अच्छा बनाया है यहाँ पे, क्या करते थे. So I think the idea can be beyond the program. The idea can be pure in that sense. So you can let it be beyond the program, just geometry, just something that of a method. So it can be various things that you may want to try out at that time. So depending on what you are engaged in, which is a very important thing for a student, engaged in something, either reading, doing something, you know, going and cleaning your neighborhood, because that will give you something else. Something else will give you something beyond architectural project searching to find that मेरा project किस पे मैं base करूँ. I think you will get a unique if you don't base it on anything. You kind of base it on things that you are preoccupied with doing beyond. Then I think you will get something which is different.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's asking a lot.
So, heading towards our last and the 10th and the last question is architecture is this question is directed to Snehal ma'am. Uh, so architecture is often mistaken as a work that can be done by anyone. So what do you think studying architecture makes us unique?
Architecture, just come.
Yes, ma'am. Should I repeat it?
Just repeat. Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. I'll repeat it. Ar- Architecture is often mistaken as work that can be done by anyone. What do you think studying architecture makes us unique?
Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I believe studying architecture does is opens the world for you to do anything else. Okay, just as much as others do architecture, you will be able to do furniture, you will be able to do music, you will be able to do maybe gardening, better rotis. So your worldview, if you allow, will be so much more that it will let you do more, because architecture allows you to deal with one everyday and also the special day. And that is why architecture, because it allows you to deal with the everyday of somebody, but it also allows you to create possibilities for that special day. So if I design a space and I imagine two people sharing a nice moment, then I can do that. So it's create, which is full of potential, and which is so fantastic. So depending on all that I can do and all that I can happen is what I can let my architecture do. I think also architecture can be done by many. Yes, architecture could be done by many. If I say that somebody is driven by poetry, or somebody is driven by some of the higher callings that people have, architecture can be done by them, because that is what we hope to address in architecture, is to be able to. But I do need to know some technology, some way of putting the building together. Like for instance, I have this person working for me. He was my site manager for many years, and architecture, because he has a mind that is alert, and he has a mind that really really cares. He has a mind that his hands are active. He does things with them. And if I'm sure when he goes back to his village, he does his architecture. Goes from here, he discusses with me, and then he goes back and he does things. So I don't think that in that sense we are unique. We can become unique because we are open to many many things that we can do, and we can hope to do. That's so as much as architecture learning allows you to work with your hands, to work with your mind, to work with your heart, and if anybody else can do that and can learn the art of making buildings, I don't think there's a problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Because I'm sure my forefathers were not architects.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you for some of the great buildings that were made in poles, maybe they were not made by architects. They might have been made by the salats, the mistris, who understood some basic mathematics, and they could make a house. So something like that, which is very beautiful and we cherish, can be made by an architect. So I guess it's possible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I hope it
Now
answers.
I would like to
I'm sure it's
open.
not satisfactory.
Uh, no, no, ma'am, it is satisfying. We are getting
Or
some broader perspectives on the same thing. I would also like,
so
if
great.
anybody in the audience would like to question something, or Any questions from the audience, please?
I think they are all very tired.
Yes.
Siddharth.
Yes, ma'am.
Not
And
us.
let's.
I think the students are. We are fine.
We
I'm
are
sure
used to
Poonam
talking.
and Sandeep and I can go on.
We are used to talking. You make us-
We are used to talking. Seems like everybody is very tired.
Okay, sir.
We shall keep, if there are any questions, we are very much here to answer. So do tell them to get back.
Yes, ma'am. So with this, I would like to extend
You're
my
always
thanks to
there.
everyone. I would like to extend my thanks to
Thank you.
everyone present
It
here,
was
and
really nice.
especially our speakers.
Thank you for.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us talk.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I went through a lot
Thank
Thanks,
you, ma'am.
Siddharth.
Yeah.
of my old presentations. Thank you much.
And we are very grateful also that you have taken the time to prepare and spend evening with
Thanks.
us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you for every
Thanks.
lovely audience. It was our first meeting, so hope to be come with more.
Yeah, we look forward to more such sessions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
Sure,
topics,
sir.
new panelists. Yeah.
Yes, we must.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Siddharth, I think it was really nice. I hope you get panel
Bye
organized.
bye. Thank you.
Next week, we will attend. We shall be questioned.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good initiative.
Thank you. Bye bye, ma'am. Bye bye, sir.
Who's going
Thank
to go
you.
first? Bye.
Bye,
See you.
Siddharth. Bye, everyone. Yeah.
I think. Bye.
Bye bye,
Bye.
Snail.
Bye, Sandeep.
Hi, Snehal. Hi, Cindy.
Bye, Poonam.
Siddharth.
Bye.
Nice hearing everybody.
Where?